So I want to talk a little bit about the Fuji X100V and my time with it. This isn't going to be really anything too in-depth. These are just going to be like, it's kind of like a list video to an extent, but my thoughts, some quick pros and cons about it. That's going to be my review. It's not going to be tech spec heavy. You're not really going to see any photos because I've had this camera since about May or June, something like that, and I've used that, all the way to today. But I really haven't been able to do too much. I mean, I have a great feel of the camera. I've gone out a couple, times to, a couple of the movements that were well needed and everything. But there's just, I can't really go anywhere with, with everything going on. But I just want to give my thoughts on the camera and why I think it's like one of the Fuji's second best camera they ever made, next to the Fuji X-Pro 2. To me, I've held two of the holy grail cameras of all time. One being the Nikon D700, which a lot of you even agree, you've seen that video on my channel, and the Fuji X-Pro 2, which I've called the Leica of Fuji. And I don't know, some of the X-Pro 2 just delivered a lot. Street photography, legendary camera, and it still holds up to this day, despite kind of the, in my opinion, letdown of the Fuji X-Pro 3 and what I wanted to an upgrade. And that's why I am with the Fuji X100V, and why I think that this is Fuji's second best camera ever made. And here's just my thoughts on a couple quick points. If you have any questions or comments, down below. But if you're looking to buy this, here's some thoughts from someone who's not necessarily a professional. I don't go out and shoot weddings and stuff like that anymore. I'm way more low-key. But here's someone kind of like your average Joe who just wants to capture some stuff and have some fun. So first and foremost, you're looking at a $1,400 camera body, and once again, as everyone knows, it comes with a 23mm fixed lens. It's not interchangeable. You cannot take this off. But in regards to the body, the awesome part about this is it being very, very compact. Now, it's not the Ricoh GR line where you can literally put it in tight slim jeans. You can hold this in many pockets, just not in jeans, but it is very compact. The grip is very, very good. I like putting the thumb grip on the back on it just to have extra, hold, and it's easier to grab for me real quick, and take photos of what I need. But the body is absolutely compact, and I really like everything about it. And the one biggest thing that they did, obviously, is the old flip screen. They added that, one of the biggest achievements, something opposite of what the X-Pro 3 did and how they oddly did that in a way. To some, they like the aesthetic, but to me, I wanted something more like what the X100V has, and it has that, at all. Pros about the bodies of any kind of Fuji camera, everything's external. Your shooting modes, they're on the side. Your dials, ISO, shutter, they're up top. You don't have to menu dive, and this keeps it, in that same realm as well. And last but not least, for the battery, on the back, you still have a joystick, and I think that's way better than using a D-pad, and I don't know, it's just they did a great job with the body, the design, and how stylish and sleek that this can be. So nice. The other thing I like about this guy right here is it is, in my opinion, the first time that the X100 line has very, very good autofocus. Throughout the entire line, I've had, and a lot of people have made the same complaints, very troubling and inaccuracy with autofocus, and it would kind of like be clunky a little bit, it would hunt a little bit, and it would be very inaccurate. I mean, they did okay with like the X100F, but this is the first time I feel with the X100V that they actually hit a home run with autofocus, and I've had zero issues. I've seen a couple other reviews out there where someone said they may have had, just a slight few, but that could have been varying situations on what kind of lighting environment they were in, and maybe there was some user error there, but the X100V hits it out of the park for autofocus, and I think it's the first time they really have it compact. I'm excited to see what they could do with that going down, to the 6 that'll come out in the next year or two. So very excited to see what that'll come, but the autofocus, pristine, and pretty decent for video if you're using that as a B or C camera as well. So I think the biggest pro or con here for a lot of people is this lens right here. Obviously it's a fixed lens. Like I said, it's a 23mm f2 lens, and the biggest con, you can't take it off. But one of the biggest perks is that you can put adapters to it, actual glass adapters. Now, they are pretty overpriced in my opinion, but they're very, very good. You'll have the WCL, which is your wide angle converter, and your TCL, which is your more telephoto-like. So if you're thinking about this is a crop sensor, on this. So you get about a 35mm look, despite whatever you have. So you put on the wide angle, telephoto, you go from there. So that being said, this 23mm is actually a redesigned, reworked lens. They didn't switch the focal length, which a lot of Fuji users were hoping. But what they did was they kind of redesigned it, and f2 now is very, very usable and sharp, almost corner to corner, whereas if you're wide open in the previous version of lens, it was pretty guff and you had to go up to like 2.8, 3.2, etc. just to clean that up a bit. And also the X100V has a pretty decent megapixel count. I mean, pretty standard for what it is. But if you look at, say, like the Leica Q2, which is like over 40 now, it has a crop in mode because, once again, it's the same kind of camera, 28mm focal length. I think that's a 28mm focal length. But, you know, you can there's no adapters or anything for it, but you can use a digital crop to crop into what you already have. So like 50, 75, and I think they go 90. This, however, does the same thing, just with less megapixels, but I never recommend doing that in camera anyway because you can just do it in post and probably get better results out of it. But if you want, you can get the frame lines for a 50mm and 75mm cropping into it right here. Once again, it's not a 75mm, you're cropping into what already is on the sensor, so you are losing a little bit of quality there, but just do that in post anyway, and for shooting raw, it doesn't matter. This isn't necessarily regards to this camera, but I think of how it renders and the color science and all that other, you know, terms you want to throw out there, keywords. But I was never really a huge fan of film simulation modes. I thought they were pretty cheesy and Instagrammy, in my opinion. But this is the first time I really used one where I was just like, man, this really has a dynamic impact. And that kind of like helps get you that oomphy Fuji kind of look. And I really like the classic negative that comes out of this that you can put on the X100V. And I don't know, it's just very, very nice. Something I highly recommend, and it's one of my go-tos if I'm, you know, using the JPEG side of things. And something else that I mentioned earlier, the menu and the layout and everything inside is basically how they've always had them, and it's very simplistic and minimalistic and just how I like it. I don't mind menu diving, but like I said, you don't have to menu dive a lot because everything you need in regards to recording, external settings, and shooting modes is all external, so you don't really need to go crazy, and it's very easily described on where you need to go in the camera. But the other cool part is that this is USB-C compatible as well, so you can charge this via USB-C if you need a portable charger on the go and not just rely necessarily on having a full battery. So you can charge this on the go, USB-C. Welcome to 2020. Once again, I didn't really get too technical on this, but there are just two last things that I felt that were a great step up and a great improvement, and just something that they continue to have. One is the built-in neutral density filter. I think it's a 3-stop now, but it's great to combo that with another ND filter to get really dramatic results, or to get the, you know, lower shutter you need if you're outside on a bright day. You're able to get exactly what you need, but it's really cool to have one built into the camera right here. And the other one is in regards to the leaf shutter of the camera, is that we were capped at 1/1000th of a shutter before, but now you can go up to 1/2000th of a shutter now. But now you can go up to 1/2000th of a second now. And just being able to have that versatility is absolutely key. And I'm glad it's more or less unlocked. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll get a little bit more, but 1/2000th, you can get a whole heck of a lot done with it. Once again, I know I said this isn't your typical X100V video, me doing B-roll outside or anything crazy, but I just want to talk about things. Plus my creativity right now, with everything going on, is absolutely minimal, and there's really nothing to do or to go out and shoot because where I'm at, it's not the best outside. So that being said, I don't know, the X100V, I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to encourage a lot of people who are looking into something like this to really look into it, and that it is worth the price tag. You know, it's $1,400 brand new. You can even find them for $1,100, $1,200 to save a couple of bucks. But a lot of people that were worried about just having the non-interchangeable lens, you can get those adapters there, and they're very good. I would recommend using the version 2 of the WCL and TCL adapters, as they will automatically, without diving in the menus, cover that in a second, you just screw them onto the lens right here. You have to take off the front thread right here, which is default on there. So once you take off the front thread right here, there's little mounts right there. You screw on your filters and then you can use them. And the cool part is they'll automatically electronically tell the camera that you're using one of them, and it will act appropriately. But if you're using the version 1s, you have to connect them. There's no electronics, and you have to go through the menus to turn on whichever one you're using so the camera knows. So version 2 automatically will do it. Version 1s, yeah, you'll have to do it yourself. But I just want to share my thoughts on why the Fuji X100V It is one of my favorite cameras now of all time, and how I think they hit a home run with this camera, especially in regards to the autofocusing, and how I think now it is very, very usable and something that you should definitely look into. And they didn't really miss the mark with this. The X-Pro 3 let me down. That's why I even kind of got rid of that to go this route. And I just wanted to try something different. And this hit a lot of the marks that the X-Pro 3 didn't, even though you'll get a little bit in here of what the X-Pro 3 had. So if you have any questions or comments about the X100V, be assured it's really, really good.